Welcome to Chentex Multimedia's live stream for Friday. And of course, it is a wonderful day out there in sunny Brisbane. We will look at the weather in a minute as well. So, hey, it's Friday and we are free as the restrictions have been lifted. Yesterday we had Navjot from NJ as vlogs in the studio, and what a pleasure to have him in the studios. An amazing person. Check out his interview on all of our channels. But as another precaution, we need to remain vigilant as the restrictions have ended. But if we are complacent, we risk the restrictions being imposed upon us once again. Let's get an update on the current restrictions as they are now. So lifting of some restrictions in Greater Brisbane, which has been effective from 1 a.m. today. From 1 a.m. 22nd January, the Greater Brisbane restrictions will be lifted. This means that there will be no restricted areas. If you have any symptoms at all, get tested immediately and stay at home until you receive a negative result. Travel in Queensland and interstate. You can travel anywhere in Queensland. You can also travel interstate, but you need to follow the rules of that state and check out the rules for state and territory before you visit. You should also check updates to borders and hotspots before you travel. Masks are strongly encouraged to continue to carry a face mask with you and wear it when you cannot maintain 1.5 meters social distancing. This includes visiting places such as shopping centers, supermarkets, retail outlets and indoor markets, hospitals and aged care facilities, workplaces where people cannot socially distance, churches and places of worship, gatherings in another person's homes, libraries, indoor recreational activities, gyms, ticketed venues such as cinema can wear a mask on entry and exit, public transport and when in taxis or ride-share vehicles. You still must wear a face mask when you are at an airport or traveling on a plane. Where required, you should wear a mask even if you usually cover your face for religious or cultural purposes. Children under age of 12 do not have to have a mask. People with particular medical conditions or disabilities do not have to wear a mask. You do not have to wear a face mask outdoors, for example, walking a dog or working in private and home visits and community gatherings. Receiving visitors, you can have more than 50 people gather in your home. Count yourself, your family members and guests. Places of worship you can attend. Places of worship, it is recommended you stick to that one person per 2 square meter rule. Your place of worship will need to have a COVID-safe plan in place. Funerals, you can have more than 200 people attend a funeral gathering. Count yourself and your family also. And other things like weddings, you can have no more than 200 people at your wedding event. And of course, you need to count yourself. All guests are allowed to dance indoors and outdoors. Restaurants and cafes and bars, you can now stand while eating and drinking at restaurants, clubs, bars and cafes. Dancing is allowed in all indoor and outdoor venues. Businesses and venues. Businesses and venues can have one person per 2 square meter indoors, and outdoor concert venues, including cinema, can retain to 100% capacity with ticketed and allocated seating. Indoor events, except for weddings and funerals, can have up to 500 attendees with an event checklist of more than 500 attendees with a COVID-safe plan. And outdoors, you can have up to 1,500 attendees with an event checklist with more than 500 attendees with a COVID-safe plan. This advice can also be accessed and updated roadmap to easing restrictions in Queensland, and it is important that if you have been in Greater Brisbane after 2nd of January and you can now visit residential aged care facilities and of course disability services, you need more information on this document. You need to call 13432584 and ask for an interpreter if you can't understand English. COVID-19 support, and if you feel worried, scared or sad about COVID-19, you can phone Multicultural Connect on 1300 079 020. This is a Queensland-wide service for people from multicultural backgrounds whose lives have been affected by COVID-19. Ask for an interpreter if you need support in your language. So that's an update from Queensland Government, and it is very supportive of the multicultural communities, and it is very good that they have provided that information for everyone. Well, right now, before we move on, let's take a very quick look at what's happening with the weather and get a weather update for today and for the much-awaited free weekend, as we say, with Dilraj Dillon.
Good morning, everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 29 degree. Brisbane area is partly cloudy, light winds becoming northeasterly 15 to 20 km per hour in the afternoon and then becoming light in the evening. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 4 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 13, that is extreme. Over the weekend, minimum will be 21 and maximum will be 30. Brisbane area will be partly cloudy with slight chance of a shower. Light winds becoming northeasterly 15 to 20 km per hour in the early afternoon and then becoming light in the evening. Sun protection is recommended from 10 to 8 till 4 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 13, that is extreme. And now we'll be listening to an weather update from Jonathan from Bureau of Meteorology. Let's listen to him.
A tropical low north of Western Australia is likely to be named a tropical cyclone by Friday, with landfall expected on Saturday. The system continues to strengthen and become more organised, and some rainfall has been recorded along the Kimberley coast. A cyclone watch is current for communities from Beagle Bay to Wim Creek, including Port Hedland and Broome, for gales within the next 48 hours. This area may change, so it's important to check you have the latest information even if you're not currently in the watch area. The latest track map shows the system turning south into Friday, and at this stage is forecast to reach Category 1 strength by Friday morning and Category 2 before crossing the coast on Saturday morning. There is still, however, some uncertainty as to the movement and strength of the system. Heavy rain and damaging to destructive winds will develop along the coast as the system draws near, and these will extend inland through the weekend. A flood watch is likely to be issued, so check if it includes you. If you're across northern WA, now is the time to prepare. Keep up to date with all the latest forecasts and warnings, follow all the advice from your local emergency services, and please stay safe.
Wonderful update there from Bureau of Meteorology, and as we're looking at the weekend, and of course we know that there's going to be extreme weather conditions in New South Wales, and there will be some very, very high temperatures coming on there as well. Well, the restrictions have lifted, so what does that actually mean for us? Here's a report courtesy of Channel 9.
Well, you can go mask-free when you wake up, with restrictions rolled back across Greater Brisbane. A potential COVID outbreak contained for now, but it doesn't mean we can't be locked down again.
After doing all the hard work, stuck in a 3-day lockdown and shackled since then by tight restrictions, it's time for Greater Brisbane to breathe easy again.
We actually go back to our roadmap from December. This is wonderful news today.
A sigh of relief as, from 1 a.m. tomorrow, masks will no longer be needed in supermarkets and shopping centres or public transport, but still be mandatory on planes and at airports. You'll again be able to have up to 50 at home, 100 at outdoor gatherings, 200 at weddings and funerals. Indoor venues like cinemas and outdoor stadiums return to full capacity, and restaurants, pubs and cafes return to the 1 per 2 square metre rule.
The lowest restrictions in our economy in the country.
There's no community transmission and the Hotel Grand Chancellor cluster's been contained, but don't think we can't again be sent into lockdown or have the restrictions slapped back on.
If that is the advice of Dr. Young, to go hard and go quickly, we would have to do that.
We just have to take each individual situation and work out what is the best response for that situation.
New South Wales might be open to Queenslanders, but a decision on when Queensland might reopen to Greater Sydney won't be made until the end of next week. Jeanette Young says at this stage there appear no roadblocks.
They're getting on top of all their clusters, very encouraging.
Restrictions on visits to hospitals and nursing homes also end tomorrow morning. Lane Calcutt, 9 News.
As restrictions ease here, so too do travel limits imposed on Queenslanders when leaving or returning to the state. We've broken down where you can and can't visit within Australia right now.
Anyone can enter.
And so that's an update there from courtesy of Channel 9, and it is wonderful to see that restrictions have lifted, and as I mentioned before, that we really need to remain vigilant and we need to observe those rules as have been set out by Queensland government and in consultation with Queensland Health. And so that is very important that we maintain and we uphold all those rules. Of course, there's been lots of talks about upcoming Australia Day, and of course there's always mixed feelings whenever we talk about Australia Day. We will look at that in a great detail very soon. So ladies and gentlemen, once again it is giving me great pleasure to welcome to the studio Ashwini Santalia from Gaura Travels. Ashwini, thank you so much for joining us today.
Umeshji, our pleasure. Very happy New Year, and hope everything goes well for you this year and everyone.
Generally, yes, we're hoping that this year is a good one for everyone. And okay, so Ashwini, about Gaura Travel, and last year in 2020, so what were the number of people that we managed to, and how many charter flights were we able to arrange through Gaura Travel?
So Umeshji, as we know, last year was very, very difficult year for everybody, including the travel industry. There were no regular flights operating. All the borders were closed. Despite that, we were with the community and we were able to operate 32 charter flights out of Australia to various cities in India. And we were able to send back 8,000 of our fellow Indians back to India.
That's quite a great number. So, in moving forward with all the restrictions that are in here, and of course, we've been talking about, the borders and all been closed. So, what's happening moving forward?
So yeah, it's unfortunate that moving forward also things are not looking that great. As we all know, end of December, there were other outbreaks all around Australia. And the borders are still pretty much closed. So in January, we still have 8 charter flights going to India, and we are still here with the community, and we will be there until all the stranded passengers are back home in India.
And that is an amazing effort that you are putting in. So, in moving forward, what is the plan of getting, the stranded people back home?
So as I just mentioned, the regular flights are still very much in the distance, and borders are still closed all around the world, including the second COVID strain that started in UK. Everything is very, very strictly closed. So we are continuing on with our charter flights. And in January, we have 8 flights going, including 1 flight out of Brisbane, which is going on 29th of January. And that's already been full. So thank you for all the support from all the our community in Brisbane. And with this demand, we have put on 1 more flight from Brisbane on the February the 26th, along with the rest of the flight that we already have from Melbourne and Sydney. So we are doing our bit, and we will continue putting these charter flights every month.
Okay, so that is wonderful. And I know the last time when we spoke, we were talking about the flights going out of Brisbane and how grateful Brisbane community were, for the efforts that had been put in. So what's been the response like from Brisbane?
So as we know, yes, our first charter flight from Brisbane went on the 21st of December. So that went completely full. and very happy to share that the next one going on 29th January is also full well in advance. And now we are focusing on the third flight, which is going on 26th of February, and booking is open for that. So I urge everybody who is interested to travel to take advantage of that.
And that is, once again, it is wonderful to hear that, that there's other flights going and that we are planning far ahead as February. So, looking at the future, what's the future of international flights and what's going to happen with the international borders? Anything happening there?
Look, it's like, it's very, very hard to predict. It's very, very fragile, very, very uncertain. What I can say with certainty is at least till 31st of March, nothing is going to resume back to normal. So definitely from now until March, things will be very much restrictive. After that, we will have to wait and watch. But my anticipation is that probably from like how we have to watch how the vaccination drive goes, how everything is going, we might see some kind of normalcy starting from July of this year. But definitely before that, things will be very uncertain, and definitely the borders will be closed until 31st March.
Okay, so until 31st March, the borders will be closed, and you have just informed us that of course this is subject to nothing else happening, and the coronavirus and the way it behaves, and of course all the rules that often the government needs to put on to protect the people. So, I think the Gaura Travel has been very adaptive to the situation and adapted to the situations and whatever the rules and regulations were, and have been providing that wonderful service because, people who really need to go, if it wasn't for these flights that you arranged, these people all would have been stranded here. So, if people need to book flights, find out a little bit more about, the flights that are going, where can they go and how can they book the flights?
So we have a very simple website which is charter.gauratravel.com.au. They can go and check all the flight schedules on there. Also, we have a 24/7 customer service. They can call us anytime. And also, if they are part of our Facebook group, they can follow us on Facebook and they can get all the updates over there as well. And of course, I think even on your shows, there are some information that's going on as we are doing from time to time.
Yes, of course, we have the information on our website as well. So, if you need to contact, you will see that message scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So that's the web address there. And of course, that toll-free number, the 1300 number there as well, which you can call and contact. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this has been a community update on the travel around. Up till, just before I let you go, Ashwini, I've just noticed that we've got some flights in February. What's happening in March? Any flights planned for March?
Yes, so we as you know, we're trying to do as much advanced planning as possible, but at the moment we haven't launched the March flight, but the discussion is on with the airlines, and I think very soon we will also launch that one. Because Holi is there in March, so before Holi, I'm sure some people would like to be back home, so we will definitely continue on.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is recommended that you, keep visiting their website and, of course, keep tuned to our program as well. And if there's any updates on March flights as they are under the planning at this stage, that you will be notified of that. So, Ashwini, once again, thank you so much for coming on the show, and of course, thank you very much for what you're doing out there for the community as well. It's a very, very essential service that you have been providing through Gaura Travel, and of course, all the work that you do out there for the community as well, supporting community functions and events as well.
Thank you, Umesh. It's my pleasure, and I'm really grateful to be of some help to our community.
And thank you very much. Until next time, it's goodbye.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was the interview with Ashwini Santalia of Gaura Travels, and of course, they have been providing this wonderful service of the flights. As you will see from some of the news that we have, that it is very hard to get a flight, it's whether you want to go back or coming back to Australia. Let's take a look at that news about someone who's trying to get here from US and how hard it is to get on a flight. That people break down, they cry. So, people like Ashwini and Gaura Travel are organizing these flights. It is to help people like this.
They send you an email, they send you a link, they put out 2 flights, so that's 400 seats, and everybody simultaneously, there's thousands of us just in the UK where they sent these emails, and we all tried it once. I tried 3 times to get through that system. They were gone in 10 minutes.
And you can see the emotions flow there when she's trying to get back to Australia, and she's been trying for a while. And as soon as the flights are announced, within 10 minutes they are sold. So, if there are flights being arranged, as we know, Australian government has announced 40 more flights on a priority basis. So there's 40 more on top of what they had originally announced. So, and when there are other flights which are arranged by people like Gaura Travel and Ashwini, that is a great thing. It's a great help to the community for people in need, where they need to travel. And of course, at this point in time, only people who need to travel are traveling. So it's not that each and everyone is just going on like that. Well, right now, let's hear about Australia Day, as we mentioned, with our Prime Minister.
On Australia Day, it's all about acknowledging how far we've come. When those 12 ships turned up in Sydney all those years ago, it wasn't a particularly flash day for the people on those vessels either. And I think what that day to this demonstrates is how far we've come as a country. And I think that's why it's important that we mark it in that way. It's not about that day so much. It's about how far we've come together since that day. You can't just airbrush things that have happened in the past. I think one of the great things about Australia, and I think we're respected for this, is we're pretty upfront and honest about our past. The national apologies that have been put in place shows that we're prepared to deal with our past. But more importantly, we don't allow it to get in the way of our future.
Of course, we don't want to allow that to get in the way of our future, but we can never forget the past. And as the Prime Minister said, that we are making reference to the past. We are aware of the past. And of course, when we look at our Indigenous people, they do, they are always reminded of that day. And to them, it is very hateful. So, I think there needs to be a little bit of talk and maybe a happy situation, a happy scenario reached over the years. Otherwise, year in, year after, there are protests and there are things that are happening and lots of people who are not happy.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
and real estate as well. And don't forget that every Wednesday we bring to you the real estate update with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty right here from this channel. And as I mentioned before that, yesterday we had the pleasure of interviewing Navjot from NSJ Vlogs, and he is a young fella who has got 80,000 subscribers, 80,000 plus subscribers on his YouTube channel, and he does an amazing job by just being himself and providing some very vital and down-to-earth information to the community out there. So well done, and it was a pleasure having him here. So if you have missed that, it is in Hindi, so you can go back to one of our channels like our Facebook, YouTube, or any of those channels, and you can view his interview, which was here yesterday. Well, right now, let's move on with the live. And of course, we're looking at the JobKeeper, and of course now moving away from that slowly with the announcement that's been made. So what's happened with the jobs, and what has the job situation been, and what's the outlook for jobs in the near future?
Mitch Crawford is one of the 900,000 people who lost their job in the first 3 months of the pandemic.
It's pretty stressful, as you can imagine. You just assume that you'll never have a job and you're never going to get back, and you end up on the streets.
But the 29-year-old secured a job in Melbourne late last year and is currently being trained by his new employer.
There's a lot of relief, as you can imagine, to sort of get back into it.
That relief is slowly becoming more widespread. All states but South Australia saw their unemployment rates fall in December, taking the national unemployment rate to 6.6%.
The resilience of the Australian economy, but in particular, the Australian employers and the businesses out there should never be underestimated.
The vast majority of job losses were recovered in about 7 months, but restoring the final 10% won't be as easy.
If you still have some businesses that can't operate at 100% capacity, I think it will be difficult to get your staff levels back to 100% capacity as well.
Recent jobs recovery has been significant, but it's not been like for like. In 2020, the number of full-time jobs fell, part-time roles increased. And despite December's jobs growth, 1.5 million people, like Karen Perkins, are on unemployment benefits. In 2 months, the government's JobKeeper and the increased job seeker payments will be wound back, which will see people like Karen struggle.
I'm going to have to go back to buying food when they have specials, when they mark them down just a day or two before they go off.
The unemployment rate remains 1.5% higher than what it was this time a year ago, and economists predict it'll be years before it's back down near 5% again. The Reserve Bank warns that slow recovery means wages will be subdued for years to come. Rachel Papazoni, ABC News.
And of course, when we look at the businesses and the small business sector, small to medium business sector, it's the financial viability. People need employees, but if it wasn't for JobKeeper during this COVID and the pandemic situation, many of the people would have been, laid off. They would not have had the jobs, or small businesses would not have been able to sustain that. And of course, as the JobKeeper is going to be taken back slowly, businesses are gearing up now, slowly refining the number of staff they can afford to have, and it comes down to affordability and being able to afford. Is not that the work's not their work, is there. People do need workers, but the harsh reality is the affordability, because if the business is not there, then you cannot afford to keep the number of employees, and it's very simple as that. With this government incentive, small to medium businesses were able to employ more people and get more work done. Otherwise, there's a lot of pressure on the little number of staff that businesses can afford to employ. So that is the harsh reality. Well, right now, another good news is a lot of our refugees have been let free, but not all. But the ones who have, they are so happy to finally get the taste of freedom, free as a bird, as is mentioned in this report.
I am very excited. This is the best moment of my life. I am here with my friend in a beautiful place, in her place, and I don't know how can I explain it, how this moment is beautiful. I feel 34 years of being under torture, trauma, sadness gone, and now I am free, like a bird, like a person who can work, who can pay tax, who can see friends, and I am very happy about it. I got 6 months bridging visa, but they said that I am not allowed to study and not get any education qualification, and it's a sad part of the visa. What is the difference? I am sure that even criminals in jail are supported to study. So I am a part of this society. Like others, why am I not allowed to study? It's important to me because I want to show that I am able to study. English is my third language, but I can study and I can help people. I like to be a person to help people. If someone is depressed, I can tell them what I've been through and get their hands, hold their hands, and tell them that life is beautiful. They didn't tell me the reason that what is today. Just came to my room and said I have a meeting with ABF, and I went to talk with them, and they said tomorrow, like today, you get visa and you are free. I was transferred to Australia for medical help, and I was kept quarantined in a room and a narrow corridor for more than a year. And when I asked them many times that when is the time that I can see a specialist for my asthma, for PTSD, and they said you are on a waiting list. And for PTSD there was no any treatment. Panadol and water is the most popular medication. I want the Australian government to look at us as human, and it doesn't make sense if someone is innocent, they dehumanize the person. I fled from my homeland because I was in danger. It's like the time that bushfire happened. When people are in danger, they don't know where they go. I was in danger. I came to Australia for help, but instead I was kept in detention for 2,737 days. But my message to you people is love, because I believe that we are born to love and respect each other.
Love and respect each other. That's wonderful news there. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's been wonderful, when someone is released out and they finally get that sense of freedom and the message of love. Well, I'm going to leave you with the last news, which is the big news at this point in time worldwide, is the new president of USA. Lady Gaga there singing the national anthem.
The capital's ramparts, overrun only days ago,
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear,
stood preserved, protected and defended, the stage for a new presidency.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
The invited applauded because no one else could. The virus forced people to be banished from a flag-filled mall. A joyous tear and a hug, then first shots in his promised fight for the soul of the nation.
This is America's day. This is democracy's day. A day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve. Democracy is fragile. And at this hour, my friends, democracy has prevailed. In each of these moments, enough of us have come together to carry all of us forward. And we can do that now.
In the presence of presidents from both sides, he sought an armistice on ugly politics.
We must end this uncivil war. We will get through this together.
Wars end with reparations. There was no mention of the man who wasn't there, but Trump-era techniques have been taken captive, never to be released.
Recent weeks and months have taught us a painful lesson. There is truth and there are lies. I will always level with you.
I, Kamala Davy Harris, solemnly swear.
Accompanied by the first and most powerful woman in presidential history, inspired by the polished words of a younger one.
We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace.
American aspiration is what drove the women of this nation throughout history to demand equal rights.
The first and second couples were gifted mementos just captured and the flags that had fluttered aloft. Now, Joe Biden's march began via Arlington to honour fallen warriors. Then time for reflection was over. A home office awaited on Pennsylvania Avenue, and the resident president was in a hurry to get there.
Part poetry, a little prayer, and all patriotism, but without the people to watch where they normally would here on the Mall. A new presidency seeks salvation for a troubled country. Joe Biden's defined his project in epic terms to write an American story that tells future generations. This one rose to answer the call of history. It'll be quite some tale to tell, especially considering the state of the nation on day one. Greg Jennett.
And that is the latest news there. And of course, wishing him all the best. Of course, we know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done and a lot of healing that needs to be done as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the news for today. That's the update for today once again. Thank you so much for joining in with us. It's always so good to see you. And don't forget that tomorrow we'll have the weekend edition coming up. And as we prepare for the final week, and yes, hard to say that, but we on the home run for this month. So 2021 is here, and the first month's almost over as well. We've got the not that many days left to go. So we were talking about 2020 that, can't wait to get it over. Here we are in 2021. Pandemic is still here. Vaccination has been put out, but in some places there is still lots of questions about how safe they would be moving in the future. But nevertheless, heads off to all the frontliners and, of course, all the scientists and medicals who have worked hard to put the vaccines together. So until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Enjoy the rest of the day, but most importantly, do remain safe.